Good evening, everybody. We are here for another episode of Think About It. I am your host, LaWanda D. Shazer, and as always, I want to start off with just thanking you for giving us some of your time. As we all know, last week was a doozy. I think this is a week that America will never forget. And my guest this evening, we have the lovely Miss Teresa Delgado. We have Mr. Kevin Miles and Jay. How you pronounce his last name?
I think it's Vaggie.
Okay. He was going to join us as soon as he can. He's been having some difficulties. We always say technology is awesome when it works, right? But we're going to kick this show off. And Teresa, I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself and the organization that you represent.
So my name is Teresa Delgado, and I'm with the Justice Initiative Youth Council. We obviously have been doing protests and stuff.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and the organization that you represent. Sorry.
It's okay. We did the one last week that you attended in Great Bend at Roger Marshall's house. So it's kind of funny how that happened.
Right.
Yeah, last week.
So what does your organization do?
So we fight for social justice, economic justice, I guess at all levels.
Okay. And how long has your organization been around?
We are new. We've only been around for a few months. Before this, we were all just separate activists from different areas in Kansas.
Right. And I always say if you got somebody doing it over here and somebody doing it over there, why not join forces and become bigger and stronger, right?
Yeah.
Right. So were you active this past summer?
Yes. Yes, I was. It was the summer for sure.
Yes. So were you across the state of Kansas? Because I know we had a gentleman from Emporia. Let's see, Jay's from Emporia.
Yeah.
We had the gentleman from Hutch, and you're in Hutch, right?
Yes, and then Wichita as well.
And
yeah,
Wichita.
I did my own protests, a couple of them here in Hutchinson, and then I went all over Kansas and actually Oklahoma as well to protest. So
Oklahoma as well?
Yes.
Oh, you got that life. Oh, okay. So, Kevin, most people are familiar with you, but those that are not, can you give them a little bit of history about you and the work that you do?
Yep. For those of you who I don't know, I am Kevin Miles. I work for the NAACP as the director of training, the national director of training. And then I've served some time in Kansas. I used to be the Kansas State Conference president for the NAACP. And before that, I was the Wichita branch president for almost 10 years there. And then I also have an organization that is my organization, Community First, that focuses on advocating for the rights of children and families who are dealing with the foster care system.
Okay. All right. And so, Teresa, we're going to start with Wednesday. We could actually go back a little further, though. We knew coming up on Wednesday, there was elections in Georgia. Mm-hmm. That was Wednesday. And then we knew the following day that there was going to be a vote. They're supposed to certify the votes from all the states. Right. So we knew those things were coming up, right? Mm-hmm. And I know Georgia was doing everything that it could to get voters out, right? And right for that election. And so here in Kansas, Teresa, what was the plan last Wednesday that happened here in Kansas, in Wichita? Well, no, at Great Bend.
Yeah, so we decided to get together with you and other organizers across Kansas and go to Great Bend to run those home. And I guess we all kind of thought, I get all of us have been foreseeing what was going to happen, and so it was like our final like call for morality. Really, what it
Right.
was.
Right.
Some call for morality, like, please, you got to do what's right. This things are going to get crazy, and essentially they did. It's upsetting. It really is.
Right. And so we were there to, again, like you say, to show support for making sure every vote counted,
Yeah.
right? And that they actually certified the votes. Now, myself with all kind of different organizations, all in 2020, we went out registering people to vote, doing the second round to make sure they knew the dates to go and vote. And so we put a lot of work into the vote, right? Yeah. And so all that work that organizations did all across the United States, it felt like somebody was trying to pull the rug out from underneath all that work that was done. Yeah. Right. And Roger Marshall was one of those ones in the state of Kansas that decided he wanted to go along with 45. I can't say that other word. He wanted to go along with 45 and try to say that the voting wasn't done properly. And the interesting part about that is that they picked only 5 states?
Yes.
They didn't say
diverse states.
Yeah.
Diverse states.
Yeah, right. It's kind of odd. So either the election process was done correctly or it wasn't. Right? So Kevin, in Georgia, it came down to getting balance, some sort of balance in the Senate, in Congress. And so what was the atmosphere in Georgia leading up to the vote?
And let me first go back just for a second, because I live in Fulton County, Georgia. So it was really like a slap in the face because ours were the votes that they were trying to throw out. And
Wait, let's say that again. So in those key states, we're gonna say it, the minority population, the black and brown vote mattered. The black vote came out super duper strong. The Latino, Hispanic vote came out, and everybody did the thing. The young people did the thing, and it is kind of a slap in the face that they actually wanted to discount the black and brown vote.
And honestly, I don't even think that I think it was orchestrated and planned because here in the state of Georgia, they made a decision that the early votes would be counted after they counted the same day votes. So even though the early votes were already in, they didn't count them until after they counted the same day votes. Right. So when we went to bed on election night, it looked like Trump was doing really, really well, but it was because they hadn't counted, the early votes. And then to come back and say, oh, well, we think there's fraud, and I posted on my Facebook, I stood in line for 3 hours to try to vote, to early vote. And everywhere throughout the city initially had super long lines, and they were all black folks, all the way up until they opened up the arena downtown, and they had so many voting machines downtown that it really made an impact, and people were able to get in and get out quickly. But the same thing that happened in the general is the same thing that happened in the runoff. In the early voting, everybody went out and voted. There were literally, you couldn't drive down the street anywhere without seeing signs reminding people to go out and vote, and everybody went back out. But it's just funny that, it was the people who live where I live and in my community, ours were the votes they were trying to throw away and claim that they shouldn't be counted.
And, again, such a double whammy, slap in the face. We talk about the laws that were on the books. Was it Dred Scott that we were not a full-fledged human? Well, actually, it's in the Constitution.
It was in the Constitution.
It's in the Constitution. Right. I'm thinking of some separate but equal. I'm thinking of all those rules that were put into place, as we say, for a time such as this, right? for a time such as this, there were things on the books that kind of tried to kill the vote, kill the process, right? Um, and unfortunately, the day after the vote, so we get through the November elections, and they finally counted all the votes. They recounted the votes, and then they recounted the votes, and
Yeah,
it was
we had three recounts
right.
and an audit in Cobb County.
And an audit, right? And so to say that there was voter fraud after you counted, and every state recounted the votes, I think everybody wanted to be careful, right?
Yeah.
And so here we are. We still ended up with how many senators decided that they were going to stand with 45? Was it 17?
I can't remember the total number because after everything took place, some of them stepped away. But I will say that your guy, Roger Marshall, he actually still voted
Yeah.
on both objections.
Yes.
There was only three of them who actually voted on both of them, and he was one of those.
It was one of those. And Ron Estes still put his little vote in against certifying the vote.
Mm-hmm.
So Kansas, and it's interesting because Kansas made a really good shot at turning blue. You know, it was a good close race. But still, for anybody to be voted in this election, the 2020 election, but then say some of the my vote counts. I mean, I was voted in the right way. Yeah. I'm good. But everybody else, they get the side eyes. So anyway, we went to Great Bend to just again as moral support for the certification of the vote. And when we got there,
Oh my goodness.
we were met with a lot of opposition. Teresa, tell us about the opposition.
So before we even got there on the road, myself and Jay were getting messages and posts from what we could who were proud boys. And we're gonna run us out of the county, do all this and that. So we're like, okay, cool, we're gonna stop anyway because you don't scare us. Show up and they're there, and of course they have their whatever the hell kind of sense they have to say whatever they think is right. I don't even want to repeat. And they had the nerve to try to talk over everybody that was speaking, but they didn't talk over Jay or Andrew, who happened to be Caucasian. They were talking over myself. They were talking over you. They were talking over, excuse me, I forgot. What was her name?
Diane Webb.
Yes, wonderful women. I mean, and we were the only ones they were speaking over. So, I mean, it was clear to me what they were really there for.
Right.
And that was to silent minority voices.
Right. And Jay, see you joined us.
Hi, Jay.
Sorry I'm late. I was actually at my dad's eating dinner, and then my truck wouldn't start. So I had a hell of a time getting back over here. But I'm here, y'all.
You're here. Okay. And you hopped in right at the point we were talking about going to Great Bend.
Right.
I saw that there were some warnings put out. There was some groups telling your group not to come.
Right. And so what was happening that day as what is happening now, it's this dog whistle and this violence that they're trying to perpetrate. Like I said, or like Teresa said, they were messaging me all morning that day of that event, trying to scare us. They're like, hey, don't come to our city. We'll run you off. And I'm like, well, I'm not afraid. And I was like, my family fought the Nazis. Like, if you think I'm afraid of some Proud Boys, you know what I mean? You got another thing coming. But at the end, and beyond that, I told him, I said, I don't even need a weapon. My voice is my weapon. And I was like, whatever you try to do to me, you'll never be able to do to everybody that's ever heard what I've got to say, the legacy that we're building. So they can take one person out, but they can't stop the revolution. So I'm not afraid of nobody. I'm not afraid, and I'm not going to cower in fear. That's a tactic. Like Stacey Shaw says, if y'all don't know about her, she's from Kansas City. She's a lawyer. She says, fear is only a tool for us to demonstrate our courage. And so every time I face fear, I just think about it. I can rise to the challenge. I can stand there and be brave, or I can cower in fear and my voice can tremble. But I like to be loud, so I know I can't let my voice tremble.
Right, I know. Think you're at a protest, you're like, power to the people. No, we gotta say power to the people.
Hey, I'm saying, gotta get loud.
Right. And so when we got there, yeah, they was saying some nasty things.
Yeah.
And Kevin, you had talked about a moment when you were in Ferguson, uh, and protesting the murder of
Mike Brown.
Mike Brown. So tell us tell us what happened when you were in Ferguson, when you were in Missouri.
Yeah, and actually, after the decision came out that they weren't going to charge any of the officers, we took a group of people and we marched. We started to march from Mike Brown's house to the governor's mansion, which was like 135 miles away in the middle of winter. But on the path, we went through this town called Rosebud. And when we got to Rosebud, this was my first encounter with the Klan in person. And as we approached the town, they lynched a deer from a tree. Then we got a little further in, and there were 40-ounce bottles and fried chicken thrown all over the street. Once we got into the town, we were met with a crowd of 300 or 400 people who were just standing out there screaming at us, calling us every name in the book. And we had a bus behind us for the older people who weren't able to walk, and they shot the window out of the bus. And part of the reason we were doing this and going to the governor's mansion was we wanted the governor had kind of backed away and got into this law and order posture and was blaming the protesters for everything. But we figured that if they saw us in the middle of winter walking 135 miles to come and talk to him, that he would have to pay attention and come back and deal with us. And after the Klan came out and they shot the window out of the bus, he came back to the Capitol and he sent word that he wanted us to hop in a car that night, drive the rest of the way so he could meet with us that night. So we were able to meet with him. And then when we got back, we walked into the Capitol a couple days later with about 800 people, met with the governor, met with the attorney general, were able to get a whole bunch of stuff done. But it came after, getting shot at by the Klan in Rosebud, Missouri.
But one of the things that you had said that I wanted to contrast is that you saw these trucks, the big trucks.
Yes, because when Lawanda was telling me about Great Bend, it reminded me of what that process was like, because it started with, we have a couple trucks go by, and then you'd look up and you would notice the same trucks, like they were kind of circling around. Then there'd be a few more. As the day progressed, we started seeing trucks that had removed their license plates. And what I was telling Lawanda and what I'm sharing with each one of you to kind of put you on game, what we do, if I'm having an event and I'm going through an area where it's going to be some hostile territory, you need people who are going to be your designated photographers. And their role, if you start to see those trucks starting to circle, you need to take pictures of those license plates. Now, when we started taking pictures of the license plates, that's when they started pulling the plates off of the cars. However, by that time, we had already identified, okay, here are the trucks that are circling. Here are the same people. We were able to start kind of picking out some of those faces. But it sounded like you guys were starting to see some of that stuff that we saw then.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead, Teresa.
Yeah, we definitely got some license plates on live and stuff just in case, because if we're on live, anything happens, everyone will be right there to see it in the moment. And then on top of that, they're alive, so they don't even have to go.
Right.
That was insane what you just said, though. Like, this super, super disgusting. Like, this hard in this day of time. But unfortunately, it's not.
Oh, we lost. What was that last statement, Teresa?
Unfortunately,
Are you guys losing her audio wise?
Just a little. She dropped out a little bit.
you got me again.
Oh, we got
Yeah.
you. We got you.
Okay.
We got you.
I said it's disheartening and it's disgusting, but unfortunately, especially in this day and time, but it's not shocking, and that's the worst part about it is it's not shocking that this is that happened to you, and I mean this is going on,
Right.
Right.
and that's
And
the
it
worst.
I think this is an illustration to us all. The Klan never went away. I have done a lot
No.
of historical research in Kansas, and I live in Emporia, where William Allen White is from, and he actually fought against the Klan to keep them out of this area. They couldn't even live in Emporia; they had to live in little outside towns like Hartford,
Hey.
because we didn't do that around here. But and he ran for governor just to make sure the KKK didn't win the election. But in that time period, 100 years ago, they said that Crawford County had a cross on the baseball diamonds burning nightly. And so we have to remember who we're facing when we're talking about conservatism, when we're talking about these people showing up to counter protest. They're all pulling up in big trucks. It's the commonalities. It's the country culture. And my thing about it is, if y'all don't support the viciousness, the violence, the mob lynch mentality, y'all need to actively speak out against it to calm people down. Because,
Yeah.
if not, we're borderlining on a civil war that they've tried to put into place. Nobody wants to go to war. We want to be at peace.
Right.
Why we've been protesting for all these years? To get to a state of peace. But we
Thank
can't get to peace because they want to act like somebody's life's more important than somebody else's. Somebody's money's more important than our lives. All of this. They want us to care about their issues. They got to care about our issues too. We can't, and it's got to be based on facts, not on whatever fictional story they want to tell this week, like the election. We have to come to real terms, and it starts by us recognizing the threat that we are posing as humans to our own democracy. We are borderlining on dangerous times. And, as my family fled World War II and fled the Nazi takeover of Germany, I can really attest to what my grandmother used to say about these types of situations, and what it feels like to be in that experience. And so that's kind of really what I've been echoing to people is I'm concerned. These kind of take me back to what my grandma was telling me growing up. And so I definitely feel like it needs more time. And the best thing I feel like we do need to get these issues solved, but we also need to come to the table with some of these people so that we can create a different conversation to cool the jets. Because this could spiral out of control so fast. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, did y'all see his video?
I saw it. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what my grandma was talking about. She, like different, people coming into the village and doing crazy stuff and, exterminating people. And they were like, we got to go. You know what I mean? When they leave, we out. Pack the bags. We not doing this. Hit the Amsterdam. We out. Nowadays people trying to get to Amsterdam, but it was a different story then. But we got to do better. And, a lot of our family members, like my dad's a conservative. I was just talking to him about this and I'm like, what do you think? And it just scares me. What scares me the most is that they're so brainwashed. They believe this to the core of their existence. And I'm sitting here like, don't you remember what grandma told us about fascism and the Nazis? It's over their heads at this point. They're so invested in this false game and narrative. It scares me.
So your dad was one of the ones that believes the Fox News and all that stuff?
Yes, and it's unfortunate. And what's happening is he don't even watch Fox News anymore. He's watching these right-wing YouTube channels and
Newsmax and all of those. Yeah.
I feel like those are more threatening than Fox's. Fox does piss people off, but when these people start going off the script with what they're listening to and the information, we don't even know what's going on. And like my stepmom just told me Antifa attacked the Capitol. I was like, girl, oh my God, I just can't talk to you tonight. But thank you for the chili. I'm gonna get on the road now.
Right.
Let me get out of here.
So we're gonna go to the Capitol. Okay, so Georgia, the two Dems win their races, right? And change the trajectory of what's coming up.
Oh yeah.
And then it's time to certify the vote. So we know 45 is talking to his people. First of all, he invited everybody to come out, even though we're in the middle of COVID, people are dying. He invited 1 million people, my understanding, to come out to Washington, right? He got what? What was that percentage? He got 25,000 out of his million. So
Yeah.
okay. So anyway. So yeah. So anyway, but those 25,000 showed up. And he gave a speech while Congress was in session. He gives a speech.
Mm-hmm.
And after his speech, he says, let's go to the Capitol.
Yep.
Let's meaning me and you. That wasn't me. I mean, we're going together, right?
Yep. Right.
But he didn't make it to the Capitol. He went home.
He sure did.
And see, and that's how when somebody says let's go and they pump you up and then you look around and they're not there, that should tell you something.
Yeah.
That should tell you something. So, but they go to the Capitol and man, that was a day that we will remember forever.
But you know what? And this is on my heart. I gotta say this. This is what white supremacy has always been.
Yeah.
It is not new. It has not changed. It has not gotten worse. This is one of the worst manifestations of white supremacy against other white people.
Yeah.
It's one of the first times that the whole nation actually saw it. But, you know, the bullet that shot the window out of the bus, we've seen this.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw a clip of a guy. He was standing outside the Capitol, and he said, "We can take the building." And somebody asked him, "And then what?" He said, "Heads on pikes." You know, I mean, that hatred, that ugly violence, that willingness to use violence, that's what organizations like the NAACP have been talking about forever. And I'm 51 years old, and for the majority of my life, people have acted like we were crazy. You know, the whole term, right. You're playing the race card.
Yeah.
Every time we would say, well, hey, this is real. You know, there actually are monsters and dinosaurs, and they're attacking people, and they say, oh no, you're playing the race card. No, it's not true. You're playing the race card. But now, as Malcolm said once, the chickens came home to roost, and now that same anger and hatred that they've openly fomented has now turned and attacked the Capitol, and now the whole world got a chance to see it.
And you know what's kind of sad about that is that there aren't that many minorities in Congress. And so they were going to go and hurt people that look like them.
Yeah.
That's sad. I mean, we get it. They don't like people that don't look like them, but you went to hurt people that look just like you. Now, you went allegedly for a cause, but the people that were in power looked just like you, and you were willing to do whatever. People actually died.
Let me just say this real quick, and then I'm a hush for a second. But I saw today, like they got the guys who were carrying around the zip ties, who were literally going in there planning to like handcuff people and do something to them. And when they asked one of the guys, the one who was the lieutenant colonel, he just reflexively said, "Oh, I just found these somewhere and I just picked them up and I was carrying them." And I think that's important to take note of how easily, you know, this crowd would even lie.
Right.
You know, so it's hard to, you know, and I feel for you, brother, when you were talking about, you know, trying to get through to your parents once they've been radicalized. Yes. It's hard because the people who are radicalizing them will lie with no hesitation. You know, I mean, it's very rare as an adult that you meet somebody who will look you in the eyes and tell you just a bald-faced lie. That's rare.
Right.
But inside of that movement, there are people who are absolutely willing to just make shit up.
Right.
You know?
Right. And that's a good segue to Roger Marshall. Let's talk about Roger.
Okay.
Because let's talk about what they've done this whole election. They've propagated lies like she's gonna round your guns up, Dr. Bullier. She's not connected to y'all. She's a Democrat. But when you look at Roger Marshall's campaign contributions, you see he's got donations from all of the big banks. He's got
Mhm.
Oh
donations
yeah.
from Cox and everybody else. So when he wants to say somebody else is a corporate candidate, he is the corporate candidate.
Yeah.
He wants to
Absolutely.
say people are going to round up people's guns, these are the same tactics they've been talking about. These conspiracy theories, these fear, the McCarthyism. They're on a McCarthyism hunt. And my dad's
Mhm.
at table tonight. He said, "I just hope they don't start a McCarthyism campaign." And I'm like, "What you mean? Y'all already doing that? What are you
Yeah.
talking about?" So when we talk about Roger Marshall, they knew Trump was lying too, because the press secretary came out. Check out the CNN news. She came out and said, "I knew in December that once all the lawsuits got dismissed, and I was reading what they have nothing." And so from an inside view of the campaign, she said they had nothing. Yet these
Nothing.
people like Ted Cruz, Roger Marshall, all of them were sitting there propagating these lies, pissing people off that have guns, that have, I'm sorry to say, but they might have a little bit less of an IQ level than some of us. And, it's just propagating violence. If I tell people that are starving and that I got food round the way, but they ain't trying to give it out, I'm pretty sure they're going to kick that door in and get the food. And that's what's going
Yeah.
on. We have
Right.
people that are desperate to be heard because white supremacy is on its final best bits in this society, and thank God for it. But they're desperate to get attention and to get recognition and reclamation for something that they've had this whole time. It's not our fault you can't run the races as fast as Usain Bolt. Okay, it's time you. It's like it's not a competition. People need to play to their strengths. They need to quit.
Mhm.
These same people that are racist are sitting there loving their football team with all black players. Okay, so at
Right.
the end of the day, we got to get past the ridiculousness and we got to get past lies. And once we can have a
Mhm.
legitimate conversation, we can move forward as a nation. But until then, we must protect and defend ourselves and our communities. And that's so we are calling for Roger Marshall and all of our elected representatives, except for Jerry Moran, to resign immediately. We're going to be holding an event. We're very cautiously planning because we don't want to be attacked or any violence to happen to anyone. Our
Yeah.
lives are way more precious than
At
anyone
this
may
point, we have
put
to talk about
out there.
safety.
But we can't. There's
Right.
safety. We can't let none of our people go because there's only a few of us organizers in this state to begin with, and we can't
Yeah.
let any of our powerful voices be taken out.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I know a couple of groups. I know your group, and I should have pulled the letter up, but your group has sent a letter. I think the Dems have sent a letter condemning that action, and I'm hoping that every organization that says it stands for the people, I hope every organization makes a public statement denouncing what
Yeah.
happened and denouncing the people that allowed it to happen. You know, Ted Cruz tried to give a speech talking about, can we just heal? Well, you should not have given your speech, and your vote. And you
Yeah.
talk about healing. You should have said, hey, the election is over, let's move forward. But you didn't do that. So you can't call for a healing now that you know your job could be on the line. And I say recall them
Yeah.
all.
And
Absolutely.
healing, so healing sounds like the right
I
answer. I mean, there's a part of it that it resonates. But if I break in your house and I steal all of your stuff and then ask for healing, we don't need healing at that
Right. I
point.
need my stuff back.
I need
uh,
accountability and you
I
need
need
restoration,
Right.
right? We're not at a point of let's heal. I
yay.
got your stuff, but let's just move. Can we get past this? No, no,
Right.
no. I need accountability because I took it.
Right.
You
Right.
Oh
need
yeah.
restoration because I did this to you.
Right.
Then
That
we can talk about that other shit. So
Right.
for Ted Cruz and all them, let's talk about
Right.
healing. No, 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 no. Wait.
Yeah,
Five
wait.
people died.
Right.
This was not just an ugly episode.
That part.
5 people died,
And
right?
you know what?
You need
And
accountability.
I'm not pro police. I am pro protecting society, right? And I am pro you know, some type of law enforcement, right? But they killed a police officer.
Yeah.
The same people that say they believe in love
Right.
and
Talk
justice.
about her.
The back to blue, the back to blue, the we're
Back
behind
to blue.
Thank
all
you.
that. They're the ones who killed
All year, they've been
And
calling us
none of
Antifa.
us that say that none of
And then
us
they
that
want to
said
go out there and murder a cop. And then they want to
yes,
call the Capitol takeover Antifa.
none of
How
right,
us
much
that
more
still
shift
sit
blaming can they
here.
do? And that applies to the Kansas Republican Party. Check out the statement the Republican Party made. They're trying to blame it on Antifa. I'm fed
oh,
up with it.
right,
Take
right,
acclaim for what you do. We never, folks, the protest never said they didn't burn a few businesses in the process. You know, a lot of us don't. I've never done anything like that, but
mm-mm,
people will get there if it gets to that level, if they're being unheard, but never tried to storm the Capitol to stop a certification of the vote, which is clearly a difference and it's clearly sedition.
right.
Being in
And
your own community, I wouldn't even call it wreaking havoc, but pressing the line to get justice is way different because it's a genocide that's been happening for 400 years plus to the Black community, to Native American folks. And so these are important things. And I get it. Martin Luther King said it, the voice of the unheard is manifested in riots. You know what I'm saying?
right,
When you have no other option. But to go all the way to the Capitol to try to take hostage and to kill people because our legislators that we elected, I didn't vote for
yeah,
them, but that we, the state elected, is just sickening. They have abdicated their duty. They just took the damn oath to
right,
protect the Constitution too, and just a day or so later they violated it. Like they got to
right.
go. Unfortunately, we can't do a recall election here, but I am currently in talks with lawyers to draft up articles for
Yeah,
addition and submit those to a federal court because we have to pursue every avenue of the law. And so they can be disqualified under the 14th Amendment, Section 3, as aiding and abetting insurrectionists, and they need to go. And if we got to take them to court to get it done, we're going to do that.
we will.
Okay, okay. And you know, a lot of times we just talk about it, but we don't be about it. And so to say that there's a plan B, you know, we're not just talking. We got some stuff in writing. We got some stuff that's happening to hold people accountable. Um,
Yeah,
I want to go back to that officer because not only was he killed, he was actually beaten to death
it was beaten to death.
violently.
Right.
Violently. You know, the same people that were carrying the American flag violently killed him, and I hope people don't miss that. You know, do not miss what happened. The lady that got killed. You know, I'm sad anybody lost their life over something that's stupid. It was really stupid. You know,
It was.
to think you can go to the Capitol and you're going to stop Congress from doing their job. Like, what did they think? They thought they was going to say, okay, we're not going to certify the vote ever? Like, what? And
Can I
so,
just real quick on the same subject?
uh-huh.
So we had this law enforcement officer die, right? We had this woman die. We had a couple, a few other people die. And I mean, as bad as it is, the same people who did this are sitting there, and at the same time, they're talking about, well, Black Lives Matter. We were peaceful and Black Lives Matter movement and all this.
Mm-hmm.
They were rioting and
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mm-hmm.
just say her name and shouting, say her name, and not realizing, or they are, and just ignoring the fact that she was part of this riot. She was trying to get into the room where the
Right.
Congress people were
Right.
hiding in
Right.
fear.
Yeah.
So
Right.
before anybody says anything about it, and then they're taking everything from the Black Lives Matter marches, protests, everything we did,
Right.
shouting and screaming for justice, and using
Right.
it on for what
Right.
for this.
To
That
justify
pissed me
what
off.
they did.
It really
And
did.
even if you thought that the Black Lives Matter movement went too far, how can you justify what you just did? Well, Black Lives Matter did it. Well, they did it. How do
And
you
I'm
just
sorry, but I'm gonna say,
Right.
and I'm gonna piss a lot of people off
Right.
saying this. If you're white, I don't want to hear you say a damn thing about anybody in the Black Lives Matter movement committing any type of violence or telling them that it's unnecessary, this or that, because you have never been through it, and that's your privilege. You need to sit down and step to the side.
okay?
I'm
All
gonna
right.
say it.
Step aside because
Period.
I was in a
And
conversation.
I agree.
Uh-oh, we lost you. I was in a conversation about and I was talking about gentrification, and this well-meaning person's like, I don't get it. What's the big deal? And I'm like, you won't get it because it's not your community. It's not where you grew up at. You will not get it. And he's a nice person, and he just really didn't get it. And so I think at the end of the conversation, he got it, you know. And so, Jay, that kind of goes along with what you're saying. If we could just have a conversation, but I don't think some people want to hear the truth.
No, some people don't. They're stuck in this, and it's really just his thoughts. Their
Right,
thought
they
process.
don't.
I've
But
been reading a
we
lot, and
need
they have the
to
same
we
idea
need to
as
at least
me on
get
that.
those. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Is he gone?
Let
Are you
me
okay?
say this. We need to get the cooler heads prevail people. So we need to find the Jerry Morans of the world and bring them to the table.
I'm dying.
And I don't even, the scary part about the Republican Party right now is they fractured. I think we're watching the death of the Republican Party right now on live television. So who do you talk to? Who's in charge of this thing? And I think that's what we all want to know, because these Kansas Republicans, they're not listening to Mitch McConnell or Lindsey Graham. They're not listening to Rand Paul. Who are they listening to? They're listening to people like Laura Tawater, who I exposed earlier this week on my Facebook page. Check that out. She was calling for active rebellion and violence.
And
she went to Washington, D.C. She said she didn't partake in the rioting, but the language itself is an indication. How you gonna be that close? She works with Tracy Mann. She went to his office. How are you going to be that close with leadership? And she's the chair of the 1st Congressional District, and you have no sensibility to stop the violence, to call for peace, to call for understanding and reconciliation. Clearly, leadership is not in her background of experience, nor should it be. And I'm calling on the Republican Party as well to get rid of her in whatever capacity is necessary in that professional position, because we need better people in here. Because look, we can fight amongst ourselves all we want, but we start fighting to take each other out, and other countries gonna come in here and mess it up quicker than we think we could.
Right.
Yeah.
So we need to cut we need justice, we need peace, we need change, but we have to do this together. It might be a longer process than people want, but it's better than genocide and war. And so we have to figure out how to make this work in America, and that's really the only option we have. We have 80 million versus 75 million. I'd say it's pretty neck and neck.
Close.
And that's just people that are politically engaged. But at the same, I'm not saying their perspective is any right in there very much at all. But at the end of the day, we got to pull them back. Like Charles Manson, when he had all them women in his little coalition and they started killing people, we got to get them back. You know what I'm saying? They got Stockholm syndrome. I don't know who you've been hanging out with, but we got to stop that with the quickness. And we, know what I mean? But you still can't come to Sunday dinner with me, player.
And one of the things that I've found, you talk about coming to the table, like in the Black community, Black Republicans, they won't proudly say they're Republicans, first of all, but they get in these positions of power where they can affect change, and they won't do it, but they won't say why they won't do it. And I find that frustrating. If you don't believe in the ideology of the job or the organization, why are you involved? It's kind of like, are you a spy or a double agent? What are you doing? But I just wish that Black Republicans would, there's a few that will speak up, but I wish they would boldly say, okay, I'm a Republican. What can we do to fix some of this? But it's rare. I don't know if you guys know some Black Republicans. I know a few, but they don't say anything out loud. They don't say, how can we work together? So it's a disconnect. And so again, say that again.
You broke up.
Right.
I think Jay's audio is freezing.
Like our issue, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's freezing.
The Tim Scotts of the world.
Right. So I'm just hoping that, whatever party affiliation that you're with, or if you're independent, like you said, we got to find a way to work this stuff out, because it's getting out of hand. People were saying the Democrat Party was dying. They don't know what they stand for. But then we see the Republican Party. They went
Yeah.
to the Tea Party movement. First they were moderate Republicans that I could kind of rock with, the moderates. And then somehow the Tea Party stepped in and did their number, right? Tea Party did some stuff.
But you know what? The thing is, the Tea Party came in after Obama got elected.
Mm-hmm.
And, Neely Fuller once said, if you don't understand white supremacy, everything else you think you understand will only confuse you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We lost so much time pretending, willfully pretending that the Tea Party was about economics.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When the Tea Party was about race. And it got worse and worse and worse. And it continued to metastasize. And then Trump came in, and when he named Sebastian Gorka, who was a Nazi, Steve Bannon, who was a white nationalist, and Stephen Miller, who was a white supremacist, and created positions for them to be his innermost counsel. And we still pretended like this was about economic anxiety in middle America.
Right.
And so you can't solve a problem that you can't diagnose. You can't fix white supremacy if you're afraid to say the words white supremacy. And for years, we just let this movement build momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And now the monster is so big that they're literally killing people in the Capitol building. And we don't even know what's going to happen next week. There's talk about another one on the 17th or on the 19th. We have no idea how bad this is going to get, but it's because we allowed the monster to just keep growing while we chose to turn our head and pretend like it wasn't what it actually was.
Mm-hmm. A monster. Right. So
right. They talking about drain the Trump, but really they were trying to get the Loch Ness out the water.
Right. And people try to say, well, Trump's I said his name. They said 45. Oh, he's funny. Oh, 45. Oh, he's just for kicks. No, there's been nothing funny about that man. Maybe before he got in office, you could go to New York and party with him. But even that, there's some lawsuits hanging over his head about his partying days. He did some foul stuff, allegedly. So, we got to quit turning a blind eye.
Allegedly a pedophile, but we ain't gonna talk about that.
Yeah, we gonna say allegedly, so I don't get kicked off. But we gonna say allegedly.
Right.
Right, but there's some lawsuits pending. Right. So, one more thing, and then we'll switch gears a little bit. So when they stormed the Capitol, I think it showed a weakness, and obviously it had to be an inside job. Obviously, there were some people working with them. But what if it really was? We just had homeland terrorists, but what if we had some terrorists in that mix?
I feel like we did. We did. Aren't the FBI looking into that back? I'm sure.
I know they found some bomb material, some things that should not have been there from peaceful Americans. So we're going to find out. I'm sure more and more is going to come out on that day, that sad day in America. Okay, so again, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. This conversation has been really, really good. Teresa, what do you want to leave the people with? Well, first of all, if they want to join your organization, how can they find you guys?
So we're on Facebook. Just look up the Justice Initiative Youth Council. They can find us there, or you can look on Jay or my Facebook. Reach out to us if you don't want to reach out to our page. Get answers, whatever you need to know, we'll answer for you.
Okay. So what do you want to leave the people with? What word do you want to leave them with?
At this point, it's time to shift gears. Kind of stop sitting around and not doing shit. Do something, because obviously this has gone way too far. We gotta make sure that this doesn't go any farther and that we're okay, to be honest.
Yes. Jay, final words. What do you want to leave the people with?
Final words. If you guys want to find us, check out our Facebook page or go to Facebook and just type in KSJIYC. Our organization does a lot of great things. We're planning a lot of great things this year. We've drafted Breonna Taylor's municipal law. We took that from Louisville and other places, and we put that together. We know that the Republican legislator isn't, they're not going to let us get everything through, but if we organize on a city level, we have power. So we're calling on everybody across the state. We need to start the biggest voter registration campaign this state has ever seen. This, with a time of fear, is behind us. We done see what the darkest days will bring at our capital. It's time for us to boldly stand up and declare that we're going to defend our democracy. And that's the best way we can do that is by participating in the democratic process. So we need to register voters. We need people to come forward from our communities and to run in these elections. And we need to pass policies across the board and just to continue to be bold and transformative. What they want is for us to be in fear. So my final thought is, you know, we have nothing to lose but our change. We've already been through this game. We've been through poverty. We've been through the struggle. We've been through mass incarceration. What else can we do? What else can we give to them? We've given them enough. Now it's time for us to take back our lives, take back democracy, and take back our communities and rebuild. And we got to do that together, y'all. So this year, if you can do anything, get active, get organized, find your people in your neighborhood that want to talk about these issues and bring that to your city council. And if they're not listening, replace them. Love.
Yep.
And all power to the people.
More power to the people. Kevin.
Okay. What I want to leave you all with is a story that I heard from our late Chairman Emeritus, Julian Bond. He said there were two guys standing by a river, and one of them saw a baby in the river, like floating in the water. So they jumped in the water and they saved him. And no sooner they saved him, they saw another one. So they ran up and they saved that one too. And then it was like all of a sudden they kept seeing more and more. And one of the guys, after they had saved like the fifth or sixth baby, one guy got out of the river and started running up the bank. And his friend said, well, what are you doing? Why are you leaving? We gotta save all of these kids. And the guy told him, well, I'm going to go up there and find out who's throwing babies in the water, and I'm going to make him stop.
Right.
And the point to that is we can't defeat white supremacy only by chasing the actions of white supremacists. At a certain point, we've got to go upstream and find out who is radicalizing these folks. You know, where is the source of this? You know, when Brother Jay was talking about his family moving off of Fox News and moving to Newsmax and moving to all of these other organizations, where's the funding coming from for those kind of groups?
Right.
Who's putting up the money to do all of this? Somebody paid for the permits for that rally. You know, what's the name? Somebody got the buses for the people to be there. There is an organizational structure that is facilitating all of these actions and is facilitating the transfer of information that leads to this radicalization. And even though we've got to deal with the crazy folks who show up at the Capitol, it is also in our interest to figure out who's putting up the money, who's behind all of this, who's organizing this, who's benefiting from it, because there's always somebody who's benefiting from it, and we need to have that fight as well.
Awesome. Okay. So I want to thank you all for coming on my show tonight. And I want to keep conversations going. You know, the only way to tackle a problem is to talk about it, you know, and then do something about it. And so I'm glad to know that your organization is not just talking about it. You know, you're doing something. You're standing up. And you know, when we went to Great Bend, there was supposed to have been 50, 60 people that hit that like button that said they would be there with us, you know, and everybody didn't show up, right? But that's okay, because one man, one woman can change the world. And so just thank you for coming on. And I want to say this. I want to encourage everybody to, you know, find the things that we have in common. You know, I believe in God. I believe in love. And you know, I believe in the lightness. Lightness can always disperses darkness. And so we got to find that light. And sometimes that light, we got to expose it. You know, we talk about who's funding these things, who's putting out those words. We got to use that light and expose the darkness. And that's the only way we can put it out. And so just sitting on our armchairs talking trash, that's not good enough. It's cool to talk trash. I love to talk trash, but then we got to take some action, right? So
Yeah.
I'm encouraging everybody to do something. Do something. Don't just sit there. Do something. There's a lot of organizations out there. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and all you got to do is get on board. That's all you got to do. Thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'm leaving you with this. Thank you for stopping in to think about it. This is the show guaranteed to give you something to think about. Bye.
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 Hey, bye.